Okay, let's talk about something that's a huge part of education but can feel, well, a little stiff. The Family Teacher Conference. Today, we're going to flip the script. We're looking at how to turn that traditional, sometimes even dreaded meeting into a real blueprint for a strong, lasting partnership between home and school. Let's dive in.
So the first big thing to get our heads around is this fundamental shift in perspective. The old way was usually reactive. A meeting got called because there was an issue. But the new way? It's all about proactively building a partnership. The source material we're looking at even changed its chapter title from parent-teacher conferences to facilitating meaningful conferences with families. That says it all, right? The goal here is collaboration, not confrontation.
So you might be wondering, what's the real point of having these conferences, especially if things seem to be going just fine? Well, our source points to 4 key pillars of purpose, the real why behind these meetings. And believe me, it goes so much deeper than just looking at a report card together.
I think this visual really nails it. These 4 pillars aren't just a random list. They're all connected, working together as part of one big strategy. We're talking about seeing the whole child, having the privacy and time for a real chat, sharing what's happening at home and at school, and then, crucially, setting goals as a team. When all these pieces click into place, you've built this incredibly powerful support system for the student.
Let's break these down a little. A holistic picture means we're looking beyond just the grades, right? We're talking about social and emotional development too. And to do that, you need dedicated, uninterrupted time and privacy. That's what creates a safe space for families to really open up. From there, you build mutual knowledge. The teacher learns what life is like at home, and the family gets a window into the classroom. All of this leads to the best part, setting goals together. And that feeling of shared responsibility, that's what a true partnership is all about.
All right, so we've got the why covered. Now let's get into the how. A great conference doesn't just happen by accident. It's actually designed. This next section is all about the practical blueprint you can use to lay the groundwork for success. Good preparation really boils down to 4 key factors. First, be super clear about the purpose of the meeting and everyone's role. This helps lower any anxiety and shows families their input is genuinely wanted. Next, you gotta protect the time. No one feels heard in a rushed meeting. The space itself also sends a huge message, so make sure it's private and welcoming. And finally, have a clear plan for the goals you want to talk about, with some real examples ready to go. That keeps the whole conversation focused and productive.
It's pretty amazing how something as simple as where you sit can change the entire vibe of a room. The source material points this out perfectly. Sitting across a big, imposing desk can feel like an interview, almost confrontational. But sitting together at a table, that instantly signals, hey, we're a team. It's a tiny detail, but the psychological impact is huge.
So the stage is set, the room feels good. Now it all comes down to the conversation itself. Because even the best-laid plans can fall apart without good communication. So let's get into the strategies that happen right there, in the moment, to build trust and really get a dialogue going.
There are 4 big ones here. It all starts with making families feel comfortable right away. A warm welcome, a quick rundown of what you'll talk about, no surprises. Then, and this is a big one, always start with something positive about their child. This builds trust from the get-go. After that, your job is to encourage them to participate. Remember, this has to be a two-way street, not a lecture. And finally, you wrap it all up with a clear summary, so everyone walks away knowing exactly what the plan is.
One of the absolute best tools for getting families to open up is the open-ended question. So instead of asking, is homework a problem, which just gets a yes or a no, you could try something like, tell me a little about what the homework routine looks like at your house. See the difference? One is a dead end, but the other opens up a whole conversation and invites families to share what's really going on. And of course, the perfect partner to asking good questions is active listening. This isn't just about staying quiet while someone else is talking. It's about really trying to get their message, not just the words, but the nonverbal stuff too, and then reflecting it back. Something as simple as, so if I'm hearing you right, shows you're locked in and makes families feel genuinely understood. It's the difference between listening to reply and listening to understand. All right, we have covered the do's. Now it's time for the don'ts. The source lays out some really common mistakes that can act like demolition risks to that partnership you're working so hard to build. And avoiding these is every bit as important as using the right strategies.
First up, jargon. All that education speak, it can make people feel like outsiders. Just stick to plain, simple language so everyone is part of the same conversation.
Next, don't play the expert. A real partnership means you value the family's expertise on their own child just as much as the teacher's expertise on education.
Oh, this one's huge! Instead of using labels like lazy,
Stick to objective observations about behavior. You're trying to solve a problem together, not pass judgment.
This should go without saying, but you have to keep it professional. The focus has to stay on the child, always. Avoid any kind of gossip or personal tangents to maintain that trust.
As much as you might want to help, resist that urge to just jump in with advice. It can feel really dismissive. It's much better to guide families toward finding their own solutions by asking good questions.
And finally, don't rush to find a solution. Quick fixes often miss the real issue. Taking the time to understand the whole picture is what leads to plans that actually work.
A conference might have a specific start and end time, but building a real partnership, that's an ongoing process. So what happens after everyone leaves the room? This last part is all about keeping that momentum going.
The work really keeps going in 3 key ways. First, you have to be ready to handle tough conversations with empathy when they pop up later. Second, it's so important to evaluate your own process, what went well and what could you tweak for next time. But maybe the most important thing is to follow through. Checking in on those plans you made together is what truly builds trust and shows you're committed for the long haul.
This quote from the source just sums it up perfectly. Self-evaluation isn't about beating yourself up. It's about being a pro. It helps you get better and better at communicating, which makes every future conference stronger than the last.
So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a simple, practical question. Thinking about your next conference, whether you're a teacher or a family member, what's the one thing you'll do to build a stronger partnership? Maybe it's just changing where you sit, or maybe it's making sure to start with a positive. Because those small, single steps, that's where real change always begins. Thanks for tuning in.